Dom did ask, where do we see the state of the game in 12 months' time? I've got a feeling the answer is probably the same.
You know what, Dom? We started doing, what is this, year 6, year 5?
We started in
Certainly
2014.
5.5. Yeah, so 5 years we've been doing this show, right? And nothing off the field changes. Nothing has changed. Apart from Toronto coming in, nothing else has changed, has it?
I don't think we're going to see anything drastic before the next TV negotiation, which might focus minds if they've got less money to play with, or if a broadcaster says we demand X, Y or Z as part of the deal. I suspect that it's going to be as you were in terms of seasoning. My worry, we've got a World Cup coming up in 2021. So at the end of this season, we're into that final furlong leading up to the World Cup. Everybody's telling us, irrespective of who runs that, whether it's the RFL, Super League, IRL, that this World Cup in 2021, alongside the television deal, is the most important thing for the sport in terms of its visibility and profile. You would think that for the 2021 season, we would make some adjustments to give England the best possible chance of winning the World Cup. Like, you know, shortening the season, even if it's a one-off.
Having a good mid-season game.
You'd be announcing it now that, you know, we're not necessarily relegating everybody, we may or may not be, but what we are doing is we are having less games in 2021 because we want to give England and ideally, you know, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, the best possibility of winning a World Cup, raising the profile of the sport, going into a broadcast negotiation on an absolute high, but we won't.
Phil, as Ralph Rimmer told you the other week, it's not the RFL's job to grow rugby league or help rugby league in Scotland, Ireland or Wales.
No, well,
even though it was previously.
Who asked that question?
I think Mr. Kaplan, I think did, yeah. And apparently it's the Rugby League European Foundation, and then as you counted, they have no money.
Well, they're reliant on money. Never mind.
Perhaps if Nigel Wood hadn't cut the development money in Scotland and Wales the last 6 or 7 years, they might be a bit stronger.
I just don't think anything will change. I mean, teams might be successful one year and less successful the next, but the game itself won't look a hell of a lot different in a year's time. I mean, if Sonny Bill Williams has taken Toronto to win the grand final,
that would be
that would be a hell of a story, and we'd all hold our hands up and say, greatest bit of recruitment ever. But I can see them coming 8th in their first year in Super League, and that putting pressure on some teams that were towards the bottom last year. But other than that, I can't see anything change.
Do you know what's happening with their stadium, Phil? Because I think I read somewhere that they doubled their season tickets, but it's only sort of limited at about 10,000, isn't it?
I think it's 10,000 sitting down. I think if you add in the people that stand in the beer tents, it's about 12.
Is it the old? Just let them come in, health and safety. But are they looking at another ground, or because that's quite a big issue for them? They
talked about another ground
because they don't own that ground, so they can't do anything. Which is why they can't play early in the year. It's got nothing to do with the winner. It's because they're not allowed to play there. So they don't own it. Another spin.
Where does the football team play? Why can't they play where the football team plays?
I don't know. Toronto FC, they play.
They've got a 30,000 capacity still. Right? So it's like, do we go for?
There's no room for beer garden there.
Yeah, I think the idea of keeping it packed and small is
a
good idea. But when you can't play the first 3 months of the season, it's not a good look, is it?
Do you remember last year we spoke about celebrity endorsement? Well, Martin O'Neill was the name we mentioned last week, and he's been on.
He was, yeah.
Guys, what are you on about? Of course it's going to change. There's 5 seconds coming off the shot clock.
Although the stats that told...
No, we should ask that.
Should we
those stats that
I read out brilliantly on this programme last week.
Can I just say, can I take credit? Because I'm actually the one who caused the... It was me asking the question. I had a bit of a tip-off that perhaps the stats were wrong. And I asked the question, and
who did you ask the question of, and what was the response?
I asked the question of the media team, and it was, "We'll get back to you." And then the next day it was, "Yeah, they were wrong." Blah blah blah.
But they didn't put out a statement, did they?
Yeah, no. Then they put out the statement admitting that, which was a bit annoying because I would have had the exclusive.
Did they actually put out a statement?
Yeah, I think there was a press release.
I thought they just
maybe
whoever asked, they just said just quietly mentioned we got that wrong.
Which is a bit. It's not a great look, is it?
And apparently it's still not right.
No.
Yeah, there seems to be a bit of doubt about that. Yeah.
But
it was almost. Is that not just like? You've knocked 5 seconds off, great, because we've just seen that players are wasting a bit of time, so we just want to speed it up. instead of trying to take great
Yes.
acclaim
Yeah.
for what is a routine decision.
Yeah,
You know, we've seen it. We all
Trying to
think,
create news of something that's not really.
it's a
used.
chicken coming home to roost because the shot clock, once you introduced it over here, should have been the same time as the shot clock in the NRL.
At least if it all goes wrong now, we know that Super League can employ the Prime Minister as their head of media and spin and lies.
Lies, damn lies, and statistics.
Yeah, so it works. Going back to the R League app thing,
well, apparently Super League have spent loads of money on films no one's seen.
I'll
them.
tell you what, they could do worse than employ whoever did the World Cup
Well,
draw film.
that's because the PR people who are doing the World Cup are good
Hatch.
at what they do.
That was excellent.
Yeah,
I
it
think
was.
we all saw that and went,
I was at Old Trafford, Phil. I was there. I was the first to see it. Yeah.
it was good.
It was very. They're doing a fantastic job. I mean, I'm cynical about a lot of things, and I think rightly so. But the
Well, you
the
mentioned
World
that
Cup.
word perception. The perception is it's been well run and it's
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
a success, and that's the perception of it because it's professionally done.
Oh, it's been
Yeah.
great. The
And
access.
actually-
John Dutton's there talking with journalists. Nigel Wood's over there not talking to journalists at the same event. The 2020, and all the signs are that it's going to be a success. They're aiming to be the biggest and best
But they
World Cup
turned
since
a
'54.
potential negative into a positive. So whereas Super League issue in there, the shot clock's been the greatest thing we've ever had. Oops, please don't look at the facts. The World Cup couldn't do the draw on the day they said they were going to do. It was supposed to be 2 years out. We're doing the draw now for whatever reason. All this.
Apparently,
It's-
there's a special
It's
event.
now going to
a
be
location.
16th of January at the most
We'll
iconic
see.
venue you can think of.
Yeah.
But they
What
t-
odds?
Well, it must be.
Yeah,
Must,
odds.
That's
must
it.
get the padlock
You
over.
like,
Round
bring a lot, you like to get over the wall to get in.
But
Well,
they
apparently you can.
turned that into a positive by still having a media event, still making people vote, and putting out a video where I don't know about you, I've watched it about 6 times because I just think the young girl
How
that
good's
does
Dale
it.
Ferguson? Looking very good, man.
Well, even
Trent Merrin just with the wrong without his kid on.
Ashton
He's
Gold,
already on the way playing home.
Ashton
that's
Gold
fine.
in.
He was good, Ashton
Second
Gold. He was
again.
good, yeah.
But the idea, the script, the way it's done,
Yeah.
she is brilliant. The young school girl that does it.
Mm.
To turn that from why aren't you having? Nobody said why aren't you having the draw. They all went, wow, what a great video.
I think we did, but
No,
it
but
was
it
answered.
wasn't a
It was,
big deal,
it was
was it?
explained well. Yeah, well, we'll find out on the 16th. If the,
Well, where we were,
I think the 16th
Rich and I
will
were
be
chatting about this. Is it an iconic sporting venue? In which case they were at Old Trafford.
Mm.
Can it be any more iconic than that when the final is going to be at Old Trafford?
Obviously, obviously.
Or is it at a venue that is a non-sporting venue? Is it going to be? We're all going to be stood
Buckingham
underneath the angel of the north.
Sorry, I've been watching The Crown. I'm a bit.
Prince William. Prince William.
No, I mean
Prince Harry.
they are doing a fantastic job, and hopefully, because I think that as you were saying, how important it is for the game. They understand that. They realise that they're working their socks off, and obviously the legacy. I mean, I think the best thing that they did. I'm sure was it 25 million or 15 million government funding that they managed to secure literally the week of or the day before the Brexit referendum. So they got it from Cameron and Osborne, and then obviously Brexit went away, and then Cameron and Osborne quit, but they'd already committed to funding. So happy days.
Nigel's taking credit.
Is he?
But he didn't tell
Wow.
me because obviously he didn't speak to you.
I think I'd probably give John Dutton a fair bit of credit.
John says, "Hi guys, one question: who's your dark horses for next season? Coventry, going to win League One.
What, in the Super League?
Yeah, it's going to be in Super League next year. Coventry. They'll kick out to them and put Coventry in there. They've got lovely kits.
I don't know.
And they've signed an Irish.
Well, we'll ask John. He's pretty good at predicting stuff.
Is he?
Dark horse. I mean,
Is he doing on
I would say Calloway's, but that'd come back to bite me. But maybe Hull. I think that their recruitment has been.
Well, they're a big
Impressive.
price to get in the top 5. I had a look last week. I think they will be in the 5 this year.
And I think they've freshened up. They're a bit younger. They seem like obviously it's going to depend on.
They just need to decide what their best halfback pairing
Yes.
is and try and
And-
keep it on the field for as long as possible.
And what Jay Connor's best position
well,
is.
that's
But
part of it. Isn't it?
if the players that they've signed,
Their
hit the
pack
ground
will
running,
be one
yeah.
of the most difficult to get over in the whole of the league.
yeah. So I think they're a very good chance of making the 5 and doing some damage. But
I tell you who was the
I
top,
wouldn't bet my life on it either.
top rugby league tipster in 1994. On his
Not
advert-
Gary
On
Schofield.
his advert for William Hill. They're good people. Tipster's top tipster, Steve-O. Near the bottom, Dave Woods. Nothing changes if you've seen the media tipping competition. He actually has to play in those days, which is a very interesting thing to do.
Sonny Wackaroo.
Yeah.
Is that a real name?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you
Player.
what, this is the
Wackaroo, that's good.
here's
What
the
is he doing?
coupon.
Onomatopoeia.
Here's
It is
the,
related to Buckaroo, that game we got at Christmas.
here's the coupon. Winners have got 18 at Halifax. Wakefield 22 at Bradford. Times have changed. Hull 12 at Cass. Doncaster 24 at Leeds. Bloody hell, you'd be on Leeds there, wouldn't you? Salford 8 at home to St Helens. Workington 12 at Sheffield. Fev 12 at Warrington. And Oldham 26 at Wigan. God, Leeds must have been crap in those days. Must have, bloody hell. You mentioned the Super League, Sean. It is a big bugbear on this programme. You know, they've got the argument is the BBC should not be. We should not rely on the BBC to promote the sport, and that's
Yeah,
fair
fair
enough.
point. It's not their job.
So the Women's Super League show, which they show nationwide, despite the fact the Women's Super League of 12 teams has no team from the North East, and no team from Cumbria, and no team from Yorkshire. All places where the Super League show, I think, is shown, but not. But the Women's Super League shows on all over the country, despite the fact there are not any teams in that area. So what's the justification?
Well,
they can't justify it, even if they go to the all-party parliamentary rugby league
As Adam
shindig.
Pearson will tell you, that women's football and women's cricket are bigger than rugby league now.
Well, they may well.
Direct
Well,
quote.
the attendance figures don't bear that out, though.
No,
Which,
No, they don't.
that's his
Which-
opinion.
and you know, you can have as many.
They're a bigger
30,000
threat because they're more forward.
I'm not sure about women's cricket. I think women's football.
What's the depth of women's football? Because I'm sure I saw a result this
11-1.
weekend. It was
Yeah. Well,
11-1.
that's
was
my
11-1.
concern. That's my concern about the Women's Super League
Sounds
next
like
year.
Warrington v Hull.
That's my concern about Women's Super League next year is having more clubs in there. Is
No, I
going
think
to
no. I
weaken-
think you've got. Yeah, it might
In
do.
rugby league?
It might
Yeah.
do.
Oh,
It might
massively. I think the show. What was it? Probably a month or more ago with Danica. I remember I was listening to it on the bus in Auckland when I was heading out to the Great Britain training, and she was saying about the gap from the last World Cup, and having seen the Nines and the women's, the Silver Ferns and the Gillaroos, I think while there has been growth in the women's game in England, I think they're in for a rude awakening come 2021.
And
Do
again,
you think
it's
then
down to results.
maybe then they should, like there is in the NRL, just before 5
Yeah, I think
teams,
you concentrate.
the
Yeah,
club teams
your
playing
hot
with
house,
that.
the best players against each other.
Yeah.
So probably 5 clubs, maybe, or 6. I guess I don't know what the magic number is, but having how many is there now? There's 2 divisions.
Well, there's 8, and it's going to be
Yeah.
10.
I mean, it's a bit like having 3 divisions in a men's game where there's not enough good players, you know, to prop that up. I think if you had 5, then maybe you could actually pay some of the players, or pay them a little bit, not full time, but and that way you're actually going to encourage. Because now we've already got a couple who are looking to go to cricket or get poached by rugby union. A few of the Leeds girls.
This is where we go back to some of the questions, and Paul was talking about TV deals, and we look back at the Our League app last year when they pick the games they want to show. I don't know why they bothered showing those England community games versus the New South Wales country where they've been stuffed on both occasions, and there isn't the explanation that people just see the result and go, God, England are crap, not knowing it's not.
Yeah.
They chose to show Wakefield versus Wigan in the Women's Super League, which was a game which was no disrespect to Wakefield,
Well,
but when you cover the team enough.
yeah, well, it's interesting.
It's
It's
a foregone
interesting
conclusion,
because,
isn't
as you know, we were at the forefront of having women's
we are the
game
rights.
on the thing.
Have we ever given the rights back? Or are we still
No, we were at the forefront of it, and I was told when we were looking to do another deal and do more of the Women's Super League, is that they wouldn't want to show games that would be lopsided because of the impact and the perception it would give out to other people. So they were aware of that then. So what's changed now? What's changed now is
the need for content.
they've got some cameras and they just want to film everything.
If
Absolutely everything.
I would not show any games apart from, and this sounds completely, if I were the governing body, not the clubs themselves, so this completely goes against everything that I should say, I would only show the likes of Wigan and Saints and Leeds and Castleford and whoever else is on the fringe of that, because those are games you can sell to the general public. Because the problem with women's football, the problem women's football has got, or has had, is the perception that it's crap. And it's not as good as the men. And if you show games that live up to that, the problem with an 11-1 scoreline is, those are 2 teams in the same division. You can say, well, Southampton, Leicester the week before, that's true. No one criticises men's football in the way they want to kick women's sport. If you give people a goal, they can score an open goal. And we need to concentrate on showing the very best of what we've got, and not. It's difficult because I've commentated on the Wakefield games for most of the end of last season, I'm not saying they shouldn't be shown, but I'm saying to a wider audience, you need to show the best.
You want to show the
That's why I don't
elite,
understand
Well,
why we
the
show
other
these
thing
League One
about-
games.
You mentioned the Silver Ferns and the Gillaroos. Those 4 teams encompass both of those nations.
The
So,
Warriors.
you know, the Warriors have a team, so everyone who's in the New Zealand setup is playing in this rarefied atmosphere. They've got a
And they've also got
state of origin.
They've also got state of origin.
Which
so,
they've been really clever with that. They've only got 1 game so far. It's a
and they only
1
got
game series.
15,000 in North Sydney, didn't they? This year?
But they haven't tried again to say, look, we'll move it to 3 games straight away. It's like, let's just have 1 and make it really
Build it
meaningful.
As opposed to just letting every club in, and the standard just goes.
Which again goes back
There is
to...
that obsession with that in British sport,
Well,
isn't there?
that goes
Well,
back
yeah,
to what needs to
promotion,
change.
relegation, and everyone has a chance to.
What needs to change is we need less teams at elite level, whether that be men or women.
Of higher
Of
intensity
high-
competition.
Well,
so that the cream comes more to the top.
Well, I guess we will find out in 2 years. I mean, if England make the final, win the tournament, then I'll be very wrong. But the signs at the moment, and also when someone like
England-
Danica, who's played at that level, says it, I'm more inclined to believe it than.
well, exactly.
If
She
England
knows.
do, that'll be because more of their players have played in the NRL.
But that's none of them,
And
haven't they?
no, I mean England men.
Oh, sorry, I
So-
meant England women, but yeah.
The women, I think, know now that.
Oh, we've given up on the men after the tour. Not happy.
No.
I think we need to be realistic about the women as well and say that it's a home tour, and you'd hope that the crowds will get behind them, but they will be a fair way behind Australia and New Zealand when it starts.
Toby's got a question for John, because John's got his finger on the pulse of rugby league news. So much so that we're after paying for it, which we'll come to in a minute.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilson.
Because sometimes-
Thank you.
Toby has asked,
It's not about
Play-
I'm not
Warrington,
sure I
is
like
Warrington,
it.
Warrington.
It's always about
I'm
Daniel
Warrington.
gonna,
asked
I'm
as
gonna
well.
have a go at one. I'm not sure I like him.
I don't like him. Daniel and Toby are asking, players at Warrington definitely need a prop. Are they signing a prop? Who's signing for Warrington?
Have they
Honestly,
got any
honestly.
room under their salary cap?
I don't imagine they'd have a lot. Honestly, I don't know. I've tried to speak to Steve Price the other week. I think he's a bit busy at the moment. I think maybe next week. But
Presumably,
He's always telling you. He's not just blanking you there.
have they
could be blanking me. Yeah.
have they got an overseas spot?
That's a good question. Who left? Bryson Goodwin left. They may do, yeah. I mean, I think the interesting thing is that after the Manu Tuolangi to Toronto sort of story came out, they admitted that they were interested in it.
I
So
don't think he'll play prop. No.
they're definitely looking for a prop. I mean, they've got quite a
I like
big
how
squad.
teams admit that they were. Oh yeah, we were interested in it. Yeah, we were interested. I'd say that if I were in charge at like some League One club, I'd go, yeah, we've
We
got
spoke to
business.
his agent.
Spoke to his agent.
Well, that could
But
be
you can't-
literally
but
a
you
text
can't-
message. A text
Hello,
message.
are you his agent?
But you can't come and turn on the Christmas lights,
Well,
so we've had to move on.
We
to
talked
new
about the
targets.
Latrell Mitchell. Now the Maitland pumpkin pickers are coming out with a quote saying, "Yeah, we've had talks with Latrell Mitchell," and
Yeah.
it's just become.
Why not?
Yeah,
Why not?
we've offered him 2 pies after every game and a pint of Tui's.
We've made but the correct term there is they've made him an offer.
Yeah,
They've made him an offer. It might have been.
they're in
denied.
the race.
Just as long
They're
as
in
he
the
do-
race.
Yeah.
Just as long
They're
as
the
he-
big fat block at the back,
just as long as
dressed as a penguin or whatever it is.
just don't do it when they're under contract. Just don't do it then.
Well,
Well,
because
you got
that
fine.
never happens, Rich. That
No,
What
never
did we think
happens.
about that story this week about the Wolfpack are chasing players of Canadian heritage?
Oh yes, and a certain chair.
I think it's
said,
called public relations or cheerleading. I think that's called.
Who's Canadian?
No.
Who's Canadian?
My point is, didn't they say that they're gonna speak to those players without the knowledge of the club? Is that not tapping up play? Is that
The only team who's ever been
Wakefield.
fined £5,000 for Jason Robinson.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And you didn't even
Oh.
get him.
And I imagine how rugby history would have changed, and that's the right use of the word rugby, because if you hadn't signed for Wakefield, you wouldn't have played rugby union for England. They wouldn't have won the World Cup. Oh. Finally, you
That
had
would
let
have
us off
been
that £5,000 RFL. Your fault. Who was in charge of the RFL then? Some faceless.
I remember. I enjoy always speaking to Andy
Was
Kelly,
it Sir Robin?
who was the coach at the time.
Oh, don't swear. Oh.
And he he said that the board said we were going to sign all these players. And he's like, yeah, we can't even afford the ones we've got. Why are we even?
It's the old politician's distraction.
John Aloma was on the list.
He turned down £1 million to sign for Wakefield, John Aloma, because his agents knew. They knew what was
Can you
happening.
imagine? Can you imagine
short.
John Aloma at Bellevue? I mean, he may be from South Auckland, but I think, yeah.
John Aloma and the Johns brothers. Both of them. Both of them.
And they regret it.
£5,000.
Imagine. Yeah, £5,000 for Jason Robinson. That's the Wigan Biostar FL there for you again. Shocking.